Hello folks, Jonathan Milam here with a trumpet mouthpiece review, pardon me. And we've got an excellent mouthpiece today, really something I've wanted to pick up for a long time. It's a Bob Reeves from his classical series, the Bob Reeves 7C. Okay, my initial impression of this was, is that a 7? It felt a little small to me. And I usually play on a Reeves 41 rim, which is supposed to be like a 7C. For some reason, this just felt small. It actually took me about a week to acclimate it to it, but I'd been using a little bit of a larger mouthpiece that I got in recently. Finally decided that a rim that was not working for me. And maybe because of that, when I went to something, it just feels a little smaller. Great mouthpiece. But it did have a small feel to it. And the thing about mouthpieces or rims, if you've got the same diameter, but the interior is a little raised, then that can feel smaller to you. Extremely comfortable rim. Somewhat of a tight throat. I think it's a very tight 27, maybe a 28. Is what my perception is, and I've got a little tool here that I've worked with it a little bit. But what a good sound. A modified C cup. I couldn't call it a V, but it's certainly not the bowlish type cup that you usually get out of a 7C. Now, of all the 7Cs that I've got, my favorite is probably the CKB, which is a Con King Binge. And I'll show you a picture of that. It looks like this. And actually, the Reeves might be a tad deeper. It's not shallow, but it's just not the usual bowl that you see. A very, very nice mouthpiece. And I've thought about it a lot. If I had a kid that was starting, I would not want him to start on a 7C. I think a 3C is an awfully big mouthpiece. The diameter is so large. In fact, I know we live in a generation where the 3 is what a lot of schools emphasize for their students. I think it's too big for a lot of people. A 3 is too big for me. But at any rate, I digress. I've got another mouthpiece where I talk about the perfect mouthpiece or choosing the right mouthpiece, and I share a lot of my thoughts there. I want to get right into playing this. I'm going to play it with 3 different horns, and I'm going to start off with a Cannonball Lynx, which is definitely a brighter type horn, but boy, this mouthpiece. It gives a good sound, not exactly a commercial sound, not exactly a classical sound, but I think a real good mix between the two. In fact, I like this mouthpiece so much, it might make the cut for staying in my regular rotation. It's it's got some real strong points. Okay, so we've got the Bob Reeves 7C out of his classical series, and we'll try and play with it. These are a few of my favorite things, and this is one of, at the moment, my favorite things. Okay, that's it with the Lynx. And next, I wanted to try it with a more of a moderate horn. This is a CarolBrass. It's the 5000 series. It's the large bell, standard gauge. So it's a little bit like a 72, Excellent horn, really great horn. We'll try the same mouthpiece with that, and this is still the Bob Reeves 7C out of his classical series. Well, you know, life is good. I've got a nice setup here. I'm using a one phone for the or a microphone for speaking. I turn it off when I get ready to play, and I'm using an AKG P420. 420. Hey, has nothing to do with drugs. For those of you that know the code for Mary Jane these days. Okay, next I'm going to use a little Puje here. And why am I using a Puje? If you've got a big bell, this is about a 5 1/4 inch. And Rose Brass, Brent Peters did a fabulous job with this. This is his American Belle. And what a belle of the ball it is. But this will give you an idea what the Reeves would do if you've got almost a smoky, flugelish little horn like the Puje. And hope you enjoy it. Same song, same Reeves 7C. Okay, if you've hung with me this long, wow, 7 minutes and 37 seconds. Yes, that's right. If you're still here, we'll give you a little extra. I'm going to play, like I say, one of my favorite 7Cs, which is the CKB, Con King Bench. Put them out. You can still find some of them on eBay occasionally. Of course, there are always going to be some used ones around. I guess we'll go back to the CarolBrass horn. I like playing that Puje so much. But just to give you an idea, I would consider it pretty much of an average type horn. And we'll contrast the CKB, which has got the deeper bowl cup. Going to be a very minute difference. For one thing, when we play the trumpet, most of us manufacture the sound that we want. And so, you know, we can play different horns, but we're adjusting in our ability to shape tone to make them sound similar. But at any rate, we'll give you an idea of the difference that could be with the CKB 7C and the Reeves Classical. Boy, and the rim feels bigger. I actually will be on the lookout for a 5C in the Reeves just to see if that rim is more akin to what I'm accustomed to, at least in the feel. And back to the Reeves. you can use it as a commercial mouthpiece. It'll do everything, except slice bread. Okay, now we've got a Reeves mouthpiece here, the 42C. Really what I generally like to play on. A little shallower. Again, we'll just compare it real quickly. That's funny, it's a shallower cup, but with a much larger throat, about a 26, I think. And then this is a deeper cup, but with a smaller throat. It is so nice with that smaller throat. You can just lay back and really just let tone production, you know, a little softer play. Really a very impressive mouthpiece. Again, you know, if you're used to a 7C rim and you order it, it's a little disappointing if you get one and it feels a little smaller. I actually think that feels, you know, maybe in the realm of a 10.5C generally. Like I say, I'll try and get a 5C if I can snag one at a fair price and do a review, see how it feels rim-wise. But oh, what a nice piece. I've, you know, played Bob Reeves, you know, off and on for a few years. I play some Trent Austin and some Curry as well. But very impressive. Had wanted one of these for a long time, and actually it's a beautiful mouthpiece. The head here, as I'd call it, down to this part, is a little larger, and just gives it a very nice look, a very clean feel, a little more weight around the head. So even though it's got a slightly tighter throat, and it's I wouldn't call it a commercial piece, but boy, it's a nice juxtaposition of several different objectives that you look for in a mouthpiece. Very impressed. Bob, again, appears to have hit it out of the park. Mr. Reeves, thank you for your classical series, and especially for this lovely 7Cs. If you're looking for a good 7C to start a student on, this might be the one. As always, thanks for tuning in. If you can give us a thumbs up, it's certainly appreciated. Check out our other videos. I do have one on choosing the right mouthpiece, I think I call it, and I talk a lot about rim size, lips, you know, different needs for different situations, and then I try and match the best mouthpiece that I have for a most unusual horn in that video. Hope you enjoy it. As always, the comments are appreciated. Take care of yourself. Stay safe. And have a great day.